My dear friends, how are you? We are going to have a conversation today, which is a very good one because today we have a special guest. We have an event. Event is a professor of digital marketing in Ural Federal University, and is with us just to take the today's coffee, which is going to have a lot of digital marketing. So, Ivan, thank you very much for your time. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I really appreciate you take time for this space. And well, how are you? And probably you can introduce yourself with the audience.
All right. Yeah. So I'm good. Yeah. It's a pleasure to be here, and yeah, I'll be taking you through a short presentation. Yeah, from a different perspective. So I hope everybody enjoys it.
I'm pretty sure it's going to be like that. We are going
Yeah.
to enjoy a lot. So, all yours. What can you say
All right.
about the future of digital marketing, which is going to be your topic, right?
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So I'll take it away. Okay. All right. Okay.
Super.
So well, I would have to start from right here. So I'm Ebenezer Agbozo, and I'll be taking you through the future of digital marketing or digital marketing, depending on where you're coming from, digital or digital. Yeah. And so this is me, born and raised in Ghana. I've ever since I came to Russia in 2014 to pursue my master's and then my PhD. And I work in the Department of Big Data Analysis and Methods of Video Analysis. It's actually an interesting name here. And it's more of an applied department in the School of Engineering. So previously we were under the School of Business and the School of Economics and Management, but we've merged with the School of Engineering. That's the Institute of Radio Technologies. And my main focus or my core focus is around applied informatics, which means that I focus mostly on the main concept of my work is surrounds complex systems that take any, when we say a system, take any ecosystem, take any environment, take any process, take any structure. They are all complex systems because everything has complexity within it. So I've just used complex systems as a blanket statement for my area of research and focus, and also focus on the data analysis. So data-driven decision making in complex systems. So, for example, in business, when we break business down, there are different sides of business. In healthcare, in some aspects, maybe not in the biology side or the natural sciences. I'm not really in that area, but then I take informatics and I apply it in everyday life. So that is where I'm. And also in computational social sciences, that is trying to get meaning from maybe a body of scientific work or text or using natural language processing, using NLP tools and all that. And then ICT for development, that is one of the areas of interest. Actually, there are quite a lot more AI, machine learning, but I'll just focus on these ones for now. Yeah. So I'm going to bring a more technical overview of this area because I teach other courses. Well, there's one course that I teach, which is e-business, and I try to bring a more industrial and technical perspective to the course. So I'll take you from another angle, maybe not much. I don't think I'm going to give you more of the management side of things. I'm going to take you through the future. Yeah. So, well, welcome to the future. Actually, this is the future. Yeah, we are living in the 21st century where we have the future of technology. So we are not waiting for the future that other people have dreamt for. This is the future we are in here. So, and yeah, to go further on, well, what exactly is marketing? I'm sure just to brush through, there are many definitions, but I tried to look at the definition of marketing from different research perspectives over maybe the last 2 decades, and you see a pattern. The marketing was described as a special case of human communication in which elements of the marketing mix, that is the people, communicative are seen as communicative in action, basically. Then that is more of a communication perspective, like for example, traditional marketing, buying and selling, or trying to give your product away to the whole world. You would have to use posters or billboards and all those things. Yeah. We when we come to that era, the 2000s, that was what was in vogue, and we have promotions, public relations, publicity, advocacy, campaigns. All of these exist. And one definition from 2012, marketing is defined as the process by which companies and businesses create value. So the key word you hear around the past decade is value creation. That's one of the main things when it comes to it, because the customer, as they say in business or economics, the customer is king, so or queen. Yeah. So you are trying to make sure that you satisfy the customer's needs
And
by
you know something,
building stronger
you know
relationships in order to
something,
capture value from customers in return.
you know
So
something that I
now,
really like
where from
this.
the whole word digital marketing? Well, there are so many definitions of the word digital marketing. I'm sure today, with the advent of technology, it's easy terminology to define. I'm sure. So, digital marketing, in simple words, is the marketing of products or services using digital technologies, mainly on the internet. Yeah, of course. Now we live in a world where we cannot do without the internet. So, as I'm speaking to you, or you should by now know that, yeah, without the internet, this wouldn't have been possible. It would have been maybe through a television, recorded, and then broadcasted. But now the internet makes it possible. So also, digital marketing can't be done without the internet. I mean, we see that every day. Those of us who, maybe if you have satellite television or you have cable TV, you see ads and all of that. Those are forms of digital marketing. But now we've moved towards a new side where the internet is the main engine for digital marketing, and we see digital marketing strategies evident in things like personalized marketing, which would I'm sure you've come across. You go online, you realize that you buy a number of things that's in the e-commerce world. You realize that the products you see might not be the same that your friend would see when he or she opens, or they open the app. You'll see something different. We see banner advertisements, search engine optimization, social media marketing, online advertisements, email marketing, and SMS. I think SMS is still not dead, if I'd say yes. Text messages are still not dead. So, yeah. And also, as I said, digital marketing includes non-internet channels that provide digital media. I give an example of the television or even the radio, yeah, where there's no internet. Yeah, it's still another way, yeah, because it's using a digital means. Now, to jump into, since the internet is the backbone, or modern technology is the backbone for digital marketing, we'll look at the one of the interesting things I like to look at is the Gartner hype cycle, which was this is a 2021 Gartner hype cycle. I'm yet to see how the 2022 version looks like, because even looking at the 2021 Gartner hype cycle, we can tell that some of the tools or some of the technologies or concepts are not even yet understood by everybody. So, yeah, the Gartner hype cycle is actually a methodology that gives people, or gives you a view of how technology or an application will evolve over time, and it provides some sound insight to manage its deployment within the context of any specific business goals. And the Gartner hype cycle is a simple tool, but it's also reliable for understanding the inevitable trends of excitement and delusionment surrounding all emerging technology. So you realize that there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sections or 5 phases over time every technology goes through, where it's the innovation trigger phase we have over here, and then after some few years we get to the peak of the inflated expectations, where there's a lot of hype around. We can call it the hype season, and then After that, it might actually end up in of disillusionment. And then you have the slope of enlightenment where it might begin to pick up. Unfortunately, not every technology goes through a cycle. Yeah, because some die along the way. I'm sure if you mention some words like in the past, there's some popular phrases that came in or buzzwords that were in the past technologies that maybe they were hype and then they ended up somewhere in the disillusionment. They maybe died or they can be obsolete. They become a plateau over time. Yeah. So if you look at the image, you see some of the popular. This was the 2021 hype cycle. So you see some of the popular modern technologies such as data fabric, decentralized identity, non-fungible tokens, generative AI, we decentralized finance, all these technological things, digital humans, and all of that. Yeah. So we see some of them building quantum ML. This is the beginning of it here because even with machine learning and AI, we are still not even at where we should be. Yeah, but technology is on the go. Now, so with every technology, there's sort of an impact when it comes to, and just another image from there that really helps to put the hype cycle in another perspective here. And it's emerging technologies and trends, impact radar. It highlights the technologies and trends that have the most potential to disrupt a broad section of the market here. So we see the four quadrants in this circle, and we see some of them. Some technologies fall within different categories, and some have a potential to really disrupt the market. Others not so much. So it's another way of classifying. So these kinds of trends and these kinds of visualizations help us to understand, or classifications help us to understand where technology is going, and you realize that business people or executives like to make sure that they are making their profits or return on investment. So they will have to capitalize on these tools and capitalize on these technologies here for maximum profit. So the first one I'll actually talk about is social media. Forgive me, I think I've covered the social media a little bit here. I mean, that's the most popular one. So small businesses mostly, and also large businesses actually, but it's one of the biggest tools for small and medium enterprises, uh, which is used to leverage a brand so that they could build a brand, they could scale the business to a desired goal, and also to boost sales, of course, because in some businesses, well, it's about sales. In some businesses, also, it's about maybe for example, a non-profit's goal is to, of course, generate revenue, but through another means. They might not be selling products, but they might be selling an idea, a vision to support. So they need funding, people to fund. So social media is one of the platforms through which people are able to sell their ideas. And also, we see the concept of influencers these days on social media. Businesses are partnering with influential people and people with a mission or viral moments and all of those things, so that they could make some money, because it's all based on trust. That's one of the key things you realize with social media. When you see someone using a product you trust, I think you see that in comments. Maybe, for example, maybe a woman or a girl posts a dress and tags, for example, Instagram, we could say tags the whole, from the head to the toe. She tags every part. People, or maybe even if she doesn't tag it, people ask, "Where did you get this? I like it. Where did you get it?" And this is how it works. It's not more or less like a word of mouth approach. And also there's also where businesses do use social media to make a lot of sales. And Snapchat in 2021 actually generated $3.1 billion in advertising revenue, and that's quite interesting. Yeah, and if you see the image in the middle, I hope it's quite visible, but it's from an article I picked. Where that's social media marketing the technology SMMT adopted for micro, small, medium enterprises or business. It's actually a framework that was developed, and it gives us an idea on how to ensure that these are the factors that ensure that social media marketing actually will be adopted by users. Because of course, in today's world, we are faced with the bombardment of a lot of pictures, lots of noise, lots of news. So sometimes people get tired of using social media, but of course, people spend a lot of hours there. I don't have the statistics on how much time people spend these days. Yeah. And either even coming, so there's going to be social media for children. Actually, I just watched Bloomberg Technology News and I heard there's a new TikTok for kids coming. So all these platforms are where people live these days. People work remotely and all that. So social media and the web is actually, or social networks are actually a good place for people. So we know the popular ones here, and the Twitters, the Instagrams, all of these platforms. Even some other apps also try to add a social aspect to it to make it more interactive, which is quite interesting. Yeah. So you realize that once there is communication on any platform, there is always going to be a means of making money to those platforms. Advertisements, selling ads. Yeah. Now, one of the interesting concepts also, which is which I I won't say it's quite popular by a lot. I don't think a lot of people know about it, but it actually exists, and maybe a lot of people also know about it. But then it's neuromarketing, the concept of neuromarketing, whereby you apply neuroscience technology in marketing research to analyze and understand consumer behavior towards marketing stimuli. So maybe we want to know, or you want to you conduct market research or focus groups or design marketing campaigns. Before you do that, of course, you have to you have an idea, or you have a product coming out or yet to come out or in the market. You want to measure people's response to the product, not just by using surveys, because of course when it comes to surveys and all those forms or questionnaires, well, it's sometimes difficult, and it might not give you it might not give you the whole truth of the matter, because of course people might be tired when it comes to filling forms, surveys. They might just tick anything, yeah, if there is no motivation for those kind of things. So I think researchers realize that, well, we can use because the human brain is quite interesting. There are a lot of signals that can be measured, not just the human brain, also by eye movements, tracking eye movements, and all of those things. They're able to understand the response of the human body to certain products when we see things, when we experience certain foods. For example, you drink Coca-Cola, you know the feeling. When you smell something, I think there's a documentary which I recommend, which is down here. There's actually two sides of the whole neuromarketing thing. It's unfortunately some businesses use it, and to the extent of manipulation, because they're able to make you buy a product here, because they've studied and they've understood that if we do this, you buy our product, because they use what is used in measuring the impact of a certain product is eye tracking, virtual reality tracking, MRIs, EEGs, skin conductance, facial electromyography, and also some psychological responses are used in these areas. So it's actually an interesting area to look out for also. And if you look at the stats, according to Yahoo Finance, the global neuromarketing market was valued at almost it's almost like $1 billion, if I should put it that way. Yeah, it's quite a lot here, and it's going into the trillions in the future. Yeah, so because you realize that, well, even especially during the pandemic, they saw a lot of analysis whereby the future of neuromarketing was going to boom. But of course, as I said, there are some ethical implications behind some of these products. Yeah, it's in the business world. There are people who try to make good use of these products, and also some who try to capitalize on it for manipulation perspective. But then maybe if you ask the business people, they would know how to approach some of these things also. So there's the ethics, and then there's the business side of things. As you can see from the picture, that quite a lot of companies use these tools in respond and in trying to understand what their customers need. Yeah, because they realize that maybe forms and service might not do it for them alone. Of course, you need other alternatives. Yeah. Now, so coming from neuromarketing, you realize that branding and marketing campaigns are an important component. So the tools for branding, the tools for marketing will always be there, and the designs, the smells. Going back to the neuromarketing example, there was one, and from the documentary I recommend maybe for you to look at it again. It's how companies are studying the brain for profit. Yeah, and it's quite interesting that there are perfumes that are put in hotels so that you can identify with the brand. They're quite subtle. That you enter a hotel and there's a certain perfume that is there, and it's able to draw people. There's a smell for KFC. There's a smell for McDonald's restaurants. It's quite interesting. Yeah, how they research all of these things to see how it affects human beings. So of course, there are tools that are used in designing all of these things, and tools like Canva, and also for wireframing tools for developing ideas from a system thinking perspective, whereby you draw the whole process, and probably it might be for drawing processes, or it might be for also designing maybe your site or designing your product. Some of these tools are partially free, but of course you have to pay for them. Yeah. This is also one of the campaigns you come across here. Companies that create these tools would put they give like a freemium perspective on it, so that you have to maybe pay something extra to unlock more features. So branding, and also even emotional storytelling in your branding, is also something else, because it's a human. Realize that humans are the people who are going to use the product, so we need to appeal to the human emotion. So yeah. Now, one of the other tools, actually, or not tools, but one of the other platforms or means for digital marketing is the buzzword big data analytics, data analytics, or even just data analytics on its own, of course, because big data is big data. It's actually huge. Sometimes we think we know what big data is, but big data is really huge data. Yeah. So just data analytics on its own, you see roles today like job offers are all over the place. Data analysts are needed, data scientists, data engineers. They are some of the common roles you come across today, because there is a need to use the data coming from social media, coming from all these places, to make sense out of it. So, for example, in search engine optimization, that's AdWords and all of that, click through for measuring the bounce rate, for understanding who's reading at what time are people logging onto the site, what time are people checking our product out, how many people, there are so many questions that are asked, and knowledge is actually extracted from data, which is really interesting here. Because of course we leave our digital footprints on the internet, and also maybe even within a closed environment when it's a company service you are using. These logs are measured and also are put together, and sense made out of it, so that the company can sell you more products or offer better services to you. Customer loyalty is also used, and all of these things. Yeah. So also looking for new prospects, you find all of that available. So digital marketing analytics architecture is just a simple digital marketing analytics architecture. So you come across schemas like this, whereby data is collected from the internet, from in-store, offline data, maybe from the company has a software that's able to log all the transactions of the day, and it's pushed into a data set or a knowledge graph. I mean, a knowledge graph is more or less like a different way of storing data. Yeah, because they realize that relational database, that is these table form of databases, are not able to hold data in a multi-dimensional format. So why not use graph data. So, for example, you go on Wikipedia, you search for somebody's name, maybe a popular person. It links you to information about the person, where the person went to school. These are, we call it a semantic web. So basically, these things are some of the underlying features that are used in building a digital marketing analytics architecture. Or, I mean, for a small scale business, of course, they can go with just the simple databases they know, or there are simple tools that also can do the magic. Because at the end of the day, sometimes you don't need a big stuff, but you need to know how to make use of what you have here. And also data from apps are all put together, meshed together. So the data engineer has to find a way of connecting all these data together and then pushing it into real-time analytics. Probably they have a data analyst who will build a dashboard for receiving this data and producing insights for the executive. Because at the end of the day, the manager is not interested in some of the nitty-gritty data, but they want the whole big picture. So you are supposed to summarize this data for the manager or for the executives or the CEO or whoever is in charge at the top level. So these are also some important things here. And of course, with marketing analytics tools, some of the freely available ones I'm just going to mention are Google Data Studio and Microsoft Power BI. Of course, there's Tableau, there are other tools available. Even with simple Python, R Studio, you're able to do some analytics and build some dashboards, shiny dashboards, or using Plotly in Python. Yeah, so there's a lot of open source tools here that are available. So one of the most important things is to understand how to use the data. And creativity is in the data science world. It's not just the mathematics, it's not just the computer science programming, but it's also the creative thinking, how to make sense of data. For example, you are given data from maybe cars. There's this popular data set where which is, if you do machine learning, you probably know about this. It's on car mileage data set, and then this data is given to you. Now, how do you make sense of that data? Well, there's data on, for example, data on the mileage in the city and the mileage out of the city. So we do something called feature engineering, whereby we try to generate new features. So, for example, you can take the car total mileage in the city and car mileage outside the city, and you can maybe add them together and create a new column in your data set, which gives you maybe the total mileage or the average mileage. You can average those values together and you get something new. So there's a creative thinking when it comes to all of these things. You can divide it by something else. So of course, you start with simple data by taking this Excel data. Even Excel can actually do some of these things. Yeah. So with Excel and Power BI, you're able to work together and do some of these things. So the goal is to make sense out of data. And also there, for those interested in open code that's available online, just to see how people approach some of these tasks. Some people make their code publicly available on GitHub and all of that, so you can go there and see how people do that. So in general, AI and machine learning, that is the broad area. Artificial intelligence is a broad area, and machine learning is one of the sub areas. And then we have also deep learning, which is actually basically, when we say deep learning, we are just saying that we have what we call a neural network, multiple neural networks which are connected together with so many neurons, trying to generate a model so that it can maybe predict or do some forecasting or do some recommendation. So deep learning is one of the platforms or the tools that's able to, it leverages on images, leverages on audio data, app data, that's logs, transactional data, click streak data, location data, social media posts, text data, all of that. It leverages on these logs, even network data, stream data. You can actually put it together and make some sense out of it, build a model. When we say a model, basically we are just building something that is able to receive data and then push an output. That is all a model. When you hear model, it's just something that, in a simple layman's term, we receive data and then we push data out. Then we push an output. Maybe, for example, we build a model uh, for for recommending products to you. So it gives you put in it has to learn the user's behavior over time. What do you click a lot? What products do you like? And also, for example, maybe on Amazon, let's take a simple Amazon website. It studies your behavior just by your logs, by maybe your age. Even maybe your age is not, but you can add some of those things. Your gender also, in some instances, to reproduce you. But just by what you click, how long do you stay on a page, able to put all that together over time, and then understand you as an individual and recommend products to you. So these are all automated actually. You can automate this process. So we have chatbots, we have predictive models which are used for predicting sales forecasting, customer churn or retention. That is, you're able to know and track early, maybe predict if these people might leave based on a trend, data from the past, seeing what led to people leaving. And you can't just look at data like that, but you put in a model and then you can build a model and be able to give maybe warning signals, a dashboard that's giving warning signals that, hey, these people are on the verge of leaving your product because maybe they are not using it for a long time, or it can see a pattern in their usage. So maybe you trigger a system that will send them discounts or send them certain deals or maybe free product so that it will revive them back again. So these are the things that have been done. And employee attrition models, that is HR can use these kind of things also. Of course, this is not with one example. Yeah. Because at the end of the day, there are companies who also build these tools and market these products. And some of the popular frameworks that are used are PyTorch by Facebook, or Meta AI, that's normal Facebook. So, and also TensorFlow by Google. And for forecasting time series or doing time series predictions, you realize that if for some of you who know it, Facebook developed a tool called Prophet. It's a package which can be used in R or Python, which is really powerful. It's able to do forecasting of time series data. And it takes into consideration so many factors. Holidays, it can estimate based on holidays. It learns the behavior from the time series data and is able to build a prediction model. So many companies are actually using these AI and ML tools for so many things. So Spotify, Carousel, for improving the buyer and seller experience. Actually, Amazon advertising also uses it, which is quite interesting. Because many companies depend on these simple AI. Some they can be sophisticated, they can be simple, but they depend on these tools for revenue and for keeping customers and for targeting newer customers. So that's how it works. So continuing from there, from AI, we have automated marketing, and just news that hit recently, and one of the popular automation startups, marketing automation startups, Retail Rockets, it just nabbed a $24 million expansion deal. It's quite huge. So it's automated marketing is a component in the whole of the business process automation schema, and it follows prospects through the whole sales process, and it actually targets the right kind of information in different phases of the process. So we can put it can be defined as this also. It's a key in revealing the insights of the customer's attitude and behavior from initial research, product inquiry, purchases, and claims. So it's able to understand the customer and also follow the whole process. And actually, even the automation parts are also embedded inside when it comes to maybe automatic emailing and all of these things. So Rocket Mail, one of the companies, a retention management platform, because the goal is to keep customers. So companies such as, it has clients such as Vans, Ashan, Nespresso, Hoff, Groupon. It uses an engine that attempts to identify the best timing and communication channel to make personalized offers. Yeah, so it's an intelligent system basically that is used in automatically finding best customers. Now, of course, all of these are built on AI and data analytics and all of that. Yeah. So the reason why it's able to automatically find the best timing and communication channel is because there has been data and they have trained this data with machine learning algorithms and frameworks, and they generated a model which is able to find and recommend. So that's basically the core of everything. Now, one other interesting tool is AR and VR. That's augmented reality and virtual reality, and it is also another marketing, digital marketing approach. Of course, in some sense, AR and VR, we can say, for example, when you get to a store, you might find they have these panels where you can just take a picture of yourself and look and see how the clothes might fit you. They have these huge mirror-looking cameras where you can have a virtual fitting experience, or even with your telephone, with your smartphone, you're able to take a picture and then check if a dress or a shirt or shoes might fit you. There's a company in Russia which has done the La Moda, which is quite interesting. There are so many companies, Gap, they all do that. I've seen them do that. And Ray-Ban does that also. It uses these kind of apps. Just go on. You can try to check on your PC. You just Google Ray-Ban virtual fitting, and you'd see it will ask you to select the spectacles you think you might want, and it actually maps. There's been a model that's been prepared, so it's able to map a computer vision model, which is able to map certain key points on the human face, and then we see that in tools like Snapchat and Facebook, how you and Instagram with the filters and all these things, you're able to turn your head and it fits on your face perfectly. So these tools are some of the things that are used. The augmented reality tools are used in also marketing space. So of course, I think they will definitely be improving upon them for perfection purposes. And even with L'Oreal, they also have an AR experience where you can just check if a lipstick might match your face before buying it. Instead of testing the lipstick, rather use an AR tool on your smartphone. Yeah, these are all existing and they work. So these are different forms of digital marketing, just trying to engage the customer with technology. Yeah. And I think looking at that, definitely people will spend some time on their phones trying to see if it looks well. With shoes and clothes, I have not come across research a lot more to know how the adoption level is, because it's quite new. But of course, there's a possibility of just taking your phone and then seeing how best the shoe might fit you virtually. So and I forgot to mention is that it's also used for marketing research purposes, not just for applying them in the market, but you can also use it in an enclosed environment. You can build a virtual reality environment, and then, for example, researchers developed a 3D web-based virtual supermarket using low immersive desktop to research consumers' reaction to marketing strategies, including price and product labeling. This was back in 2015, reported by researchers. Yeah. So it's quite a different experience from the traditional experience. So it's a virtual experience in marketing, also known as VEM. Now, one interesting one is blockchain, NFTs, and the metaverse. Well, from an article that I'm making reference to, it says, hype or not, NFTs have been moving in a high volume, especially 2021, since the pandemic, and when $25 billion were transacted on the blockchain, which has broken the record. Since its creation, non-fungible tokens. Basically, they are stored on a digital ledger. That is the blockchain, known as the blockchain. And also people confuse all of them together because confuse cryptocurrencies with blockchain, with the metaverse, with all. Yeah, it's quite confusing for a lot of people. I'm sure people are getting to the understanding of all of those things. So let's say blockchain is the foundation upon which cryptocurrencies are able to move on. So we have, let's say we have a database which is able to hold information. That's all the blockchain is. It holds information. But what makes the blockchain in different than other, what is the hype behind the blockchain is that it's able to, it's decentralized. That is, you don't need a central storage in one place, but then there's a decentralized approach to it. The data is stored in different copies of data stored in different locations. Yeah, so that's why there's a hype behind it. So then the hype also for NFTs came in the picture, and NFTs are just tokens, so it's data. So most people think NFTs are just a picture or something like that here, but then there are NFTs that are used for gaming purposes. You need to buy them so that you can use them within the game. The NFTs that give you access to some special physical opportunities. Maybe, for example, be a member of a club, like the monkey, the popular monkey NFT thing. Yeah, you have those are collectibles. There are also collectibles which might that's for the art world. A lot of people question that the collectible side of it. But then there's this value that is surrounded around NFTs. And the reason I'm talking about NFTs is because, for example, Coachella, Super Bowl, Adidas, Dolce & Gabbana, and MAC, these companies are some of the many examples of brands and companies that have actually taken upon themselves to use NFTs as a strategic way to achieve higher results in marketing campaigns. Yeah. They provide a different and unique experience for their customers here, but giving brand awareness, access, and exclusivity, digital merchandise. So if you know the game, Decentraland, recently there was I think the Paris is one of the fashion shows was held, and then some of these brands actually used Decentraland as a place to launch their clothes also in the virtual world, because people are able to buy this virtual stuff and own in the virtual world. But then you can use it as a place to market products, and people can get them in reality also. So it's an interesting space. The whole metaverse, the interconnection of all of these things together. The NFL in America also has made some NFTs for specific purposes here. But these are interesting ways where NFTs can provide marketers with a new way to reach their audience, drive awareness, and even promote new product lines, as I just mentioned. Yeah. So even for non-profit companies also, they're able to use the blockchain technology and NFTs as a tool to ensure trust, because a non-profit organization that is maybe feeding children in some poor country would collect money. Of course, non-profit companies need money to run the business, so they have to organize a fundraising, and then at the end of the day, maybe or tell the people who are the donors that we're going to give you this NFT. So if you donate this amount, we're going to give you this NFT. So they market themselves using these kind of products. And then once this information also stored on the blockchain, it is proof that you own a portion of or you invested in this project. So you're like a lifetime contributor to this project. So it's a way of actually getting people on board to some of these projects. So NFTs are also there. Now I'll come to one of the interesting ones, which maybe is quite technical, because this is somewhere closer to my area here, and that is simulation, using simulation tools. I mean, simulation tools have been in existence for a long time. Even the concept of building a model. A model is a representation of reality. So you build a model which might, for example, a model. I mean, we say a model. An architect builds a model of a house, which is not a real house, but it's a model of the house, the structure of the house. So what the architect does is that they have to consider a lot of things, the reality of how the house will stand or how the building will stand, and what they want it to look like. They consider a lot of things, but they put it in a smaller dimension, and then after that they build a real thing. So maybe before going to space, NASA builds a model to test and simulate to see whether the rocket is going to land on the moon, or maybe the rocket is going to go out of orbit and all of those things here. So they have to simulate. So they take the numbers, they understand how it works. They with the mathematics, they do what is called mathematical modeling, and also with physics and all of these things. They put it together, build a model, and then they're able to simulate it virtually and in a test environment, and make sure that if there are errors, they correct it, and they know the numbers and the figures to put or compute into the space shuttle, or maybe even the space shuttle. Or even, for example, we have a room, there's a bomb in the room. Before you get there, of course, they have to simulate and understand if they have to simulate and build a robot which is able to maneuver through without hitting something down. So these are models exist in a computational space, and they basically describe simple rules of behavior for individual agents. So I'm actually talking about agent-based models and system dynamics. So agent-based models are simple rules that rules of behavior for individual agents. And when we say an agent, we are talking about any object. An agent could be a self-driving car. An agent could be a robot. An agent could be a person in an economy. An agent could be an institution. So in the market, we have agents. So you can see the picture on the right hand side here. It's basically a interconnection of people communicating. So we build an interconnection of people communicating. So people transacting with other people in a society. We can build an agent-based model, and then we're able to simulate this. So continue from the definition. It integrates these rules. Maybe, for example, people buy products, seller sells products. Those are rules. So we code them inside of the system, and we give some maybe rules. I mean, a transaction can go on for as long as 24 hours or maybe 8 hours, and then there's no transaction every day. So it can run a day. We can run maybe 1 second is equal to 1 day. It depends on actually the computer you use to run the simulation, also, and how big your model is, because you might have multi-agents, so many agents interacting. So you put all these rules together and you simulate over time, and you study. For example, you're going to study procurement services in a marketplace, purchase of tickets for an event, or the adoption of innovation. You want to know how people are going to receive a product well, or how well people are going to receive the product. So you can put this in an agent-based model, simulate it, and then it's going to give you the results you want. Of course, it's not. There are shortcomings of agent-based models because they don't consider. They try to consider everything realistically, but it might not be the same. So if you look at the COVID-19 pandemic, they used most of these models to simulate, to know whether maybe children should go back to school, or how masks are effective and all of that. Yeah. It's for policy making. So the business world can adopt these simulation methods. It's not really used a lot by businesses for digital marketing purposes, but it's an interesting area also. And they can help business understand how the actions of customers, competitors, regulators, and other market players will combine to affect the demand, the supply, and the prices. So this allows them to generate or extract some insights, some proprietary insights. So as you can see, these are your agents. The customers are agents, competitors are also agents, regulators are agents, and even we can say government bodies are all agents together, put together in this multi-agent system. And we give rules to these different individuals and their limits to what they can do. So it's place. So when we simulate, it simulates reality or close to reality of what happens in a transaction or in an ecosystem. Yeah, and to model the behavior of individual market actors, including customers, competitors, suppliers, and even regulators, and effectively allows these agents to interact, helping to map unpredictable behavior in the system. So we're able to see and we're able to know what's going to happen or what may happen or what we didn't think will happen. They call it emergence. Yeah, in the agent-based world, emergence. There might be emerging actions that you didn't expect that might happen. Yeah. So these are some of the tools that are used or some of the innovation tools that are used. Now, with all these innovations, of course, there are going to be shortcomings, and one of the if from the news, if you go online today, you're going to see so many news items talking about various things. For example, recently, just a few days ago, yeah, Italy's data watchdog latest how do you call it? They were warned over the use of Google Analytics in the businesses. So it means that how our business is going to survive without Google Analytics, and even the European telephone or mobile carriers that the telecom companies are trying to get into personalized ad targeting. But of course, it's not really possible in Europe because of certain reasons, which I'll come to. Low quality content and poor branding also exist. Some of these things might exist. Data breaches, and also one interesting thing is the digital divide. That is, there are people who are not online in some countries, yeah. So they are left out in some of these campaigns, yeah. So these are some of the shortcomings when it comes to innovation and digital marketing. You might come across some of these challenges. So now coming to one of the main challenges, which is in the digital marketing space, is data protection and data compliance and all of these things. And one of the most comprehensive data regulations is the GDPR. That's the General Data Protection Regulation, which the European Union or the European Commission's is a somewhat complex law aimed at protecting the data of EU residents or European residents from misuse, disclosure, and the sale by data processors and controllers. So they define who a data owner is, they define who a data processor is, they define who the data controller is. So the data owner is the data subject and all of that. And you own your data, so data is for you. And when you leave a platform, the company must delete your information, everything about you. Which means that companies that dependent on this kind of data for marketing purposes are going to struggle with a lot of these things. But according to, I'm going to paraphrase Nicole Olsen from Privacy Policies in an article written recently. She said, GDPR is an invitation for marketers to be committed to being open and transparent and honest about their data practices. Because if you go online, you actually find a lot of companies in Europe that have breached the data regulations and they didn't comply with rules, this regulation. So they had to pay fines, and the fines are huge, from as little as 2,000 euros to as much as about 50,000 euros for just selling, maybe not protecting the data of clients. This law just came to pass quite recently. So the GDPR will force marketers to relinquish much of their dependence on behavioral data collection. That is the fear. As of 2018, this was written in Harvard Business Review, that there's the fear. When it came right away, people were afraid that, digital marketers might have to find other ways of getting data, or find other ways of maybe other new approaches to market their products, because human data, I mean, there were so many worries that there are people's data or products were being recommended to people. People are spending more than they should, yeah, and all of that. People are being manipulated, all of that, yeah. Email marketing campaigns, people are being bombarded with lots of emails and all of that, yeah. You don't know how they got your number or how they got your email address and all of that stuff, because data is being sold to other companies here. As they put it, in the early days of the data revolution, data is the new oil. So it's a really essential commodity, yeah, for a lot of people. So, but ethical research, ethics researchers in data ethics, they advise that you shouldn't see data as oil, but then of course you have to approach these areas with care, which means that in summary, digital marketing is supposed to be human centric. In the future of the future of digital marketing will have a human centric focus where there'll be more personalization. Also, user experience will be at the core of it, and also privacy. So, despite the fact that it will be data driven, that is, there will be data being used, availability of tools and platforms for driving value. But the human centric focus will be at the center of it all. And also, there's the talks of compliance readiness, data protection, also when it comes to working across borders in order to provide services and to market your product. These are some of the things that will be looked at, the challenges that will have to be solved, yeah, and will have to be looked at in the future. Or, I mean, we're in the future, so people are working on these solutions as I speak, and also reaching the unreached, that is having digital campaigns for the offline people also. Yeah, so basically, this is my little presentation on digital
Uh,
marketing and the future of digital marketing.
Super awesome. Actually, it was a very good presentation. I get some really important points about you were saying during your presentation. For example, the personalized marketing is going to be super important now and in the future. And some of the big thing is the way to get data, right, or data, because right now the cookies have the time count. They are going to die very soon, and we have now sessions and signals, which is going to be the future to get data. And you present a very good speech about how to construct the data and how to use that data to build a marketing strategy. So it was pretty awesome. Thank you very much, Ben.
Thank you also.
And I hope I enjoy a lot your presentation, and I really hope the audience also enjoy a lot the presentation, because you really make a lot of insights, and I get a concept that probably we can work on it in the future, which is
Yeah.
the insight automation. How
Yeah.
can you build an insight automation according with everything you speak? So that
Yeah.
it's, I don't know, tremendous. Yeah, well, thank you, man. I really appreciate your time. Your
Thank you very much.
presentation was super awesome. And I really enjoy, and I really send you a very big hug.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure.
Thank you, though.